This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corporate Law, specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit walkercorporatelaw.com. LinkedIn. A business is only as strong as its people, and every hire matters. Go to linkedin.com/twist and get a $50 credit toward your first job post. And Squarespace. Turn your idea into a new website. When you're ready to launch, use offer code TWIST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Capitalism is the most important force for good that humanity has ever created, as flawed as it is. And I spend my days investing in companies and founders who want to make the world better through products and services. And part of that is to sit with them when they're struggling during office hours, just like a professor, except not as boring. And I meet with founders and I say, simple question, what's your biggest problem and how can I help? And let's rap out about it. My next guest during office hours is Ahva.
Yes.
I pronounced it correct.
Yes, you did.
Ahva.
Yes.
What does it mean? It's got a meaning.
Yes, it does have a meaning.
Yeah.
It means music made by nature in Persian.
It's Persian.
It's Persian.
Music made by nature.
Yes.
I hung out with a lot of Persians when I lived in Los Angeles.
There's
Persians
a big
got
community
some.
out there.
They got some joie de vivre. They like to gamble too. Whew, I played poker with some. You ever play
Watch
poker?
out.
You ever play poker with some Persians?
Yes, I have. They mix it up.
They mix it up. Action players.
Stay on your toes.
Oh, I like it. Okay. So enough about the Persians. Your business is Symba, SYMBA.io.
Yes.
Okay. And you manage internship programs from start to finish. What a wonderful idea. I've been waiting for this business to exist in the world. Tell me, how do you make money? How long has this product been in market in a number of months? And then what is your biggest challenge?
Wonderful. So Symba for symbiotic relationships.
Got it.
And we're starting out with just interns. We're actually trying to understand how to manage short-term employees.
Got it.
So our broader vision is the gig economy.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yes.
I'm going to teach you a big, important lesson. When an investor who could write a really important check asks you specific questions, give them an answer first. So the first question I have is, how long has it been in market?
Yes. It's been in market for 4 months.
How do you make money?
We are a B2B SaaS company. So annual contract base.
Okay, so you sell software
Yes.
on a yearly basis to companies. The companies pay.
Yes, companies
Got
pay.
it. Now I understand. And how much do you charge them? And how do you charge them? Do you charge them per seat? Do you charge them per internship? Do you charge them? Are you figuring that out? Is it $1,000 a year? Is it $10,000 a year? Is it $1,000 per internship? How do you charge?
So I think most startups in this early stage are still figuring it out,
Got it.
but we charge per intern seat at about $100 a month per seat and
Got it.
unlimited users for HR teams and hiring managers.
Okay, what is your biggest challenge?
So our biggest challenge as an bootstrapped company
Yeah.
shifting to launching our first round,
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure, I'm young. I'm a first-time founder.
Okay,
I'm also a minority woman.
got it.
So how do I position myself to be successful
Got
in these meetings?
Okay, so first-time founder, that's fine. Most people in Silicon Valley have a bias against old people, so that might actually be working in your favor.
Wonderful.
I wouldn't worry about being a minority or a woman, but that's a white guy saying that. But I think actually in 2019, it might actually result in you getting more meetings because people are so attuned to this issue that they want to see more candidates that are not in their portfolio already. So if you were to look at the last 100 people hired in the venture capital space, the number of women or underrepresented individuals would have to be 5 times higher than 10 years ago. So actually that could work in your favor in my mind. But the number one thing that matters in this industry, and you've chosen to go after venture capital, correct?
Correct.
Is the velocity of the growth and the size of the opportunity. So you have started charging since the beginning or in the last couple of months?
Since we officially launched the product, we did a beta round that we offered for free that we did with 10 companies.
Got it.
And now we've started charging.
Perfect. So my advice always, if you had been in our accelerator, would be to charge from the beginning. If you could go back in time, would you have?
Back in time, no, because it was mostly for bug testing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What we find is when you charge, you get to the truth quicker.
Yes.
Because you have to provide value. And a charismatic person, which you clearly are, and most founders optimize and self-select for charismatic people, they can talk people into using a free product. But even a charismatic person, when they ask for that wallet and they ask you to give me that credit card to start charging you, that's when you find out if you really got it. So those 10 you were giving the free trial to, how many converted to paid so far?
So far, we're in talks to convert 6 of them to paid.
So none have converted yet?
None have converted yet.
You're just starting that process.
We're just starting that process.
You feel like you're going to get 6?
At least 6 of them,
Great.
so 60%.
Awesome. That's an incredible to go from trial to paid, but that is a critical, that is critical. Now, I always try to get people to focus on what they can change in their business. You can't change being a minority or a woman, but you can change the revenue and the velocity of it and what you charge. So what can you charge for it? If you get those 6, what do you think their average spend will be during their first year each? Those 6.
On the software. So
sure.
We would, there are around 40 interns per each program.
Got it. So that's 4,000?
Yes.
So the value for the first 6 clients will be 4,000 each. Okay, and then do they pay their interns? They must, right? Because it's illegal to pay. And they pay them on average $15 an hour? $20?
Around $10 an hour, $10 to $15 an hour.
Okay, because they can't pay less than $15 in San Francisco, right? Because isn't that the minimum wage now?
Yes, but we were originally based in Arizona.
No problem.
So
great. So, and those internships typically last 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, you know?
So some of these companies that we're working with, although seasonal internships are a thing, they do summer, fall, and spring internships.
So average 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 12 weeks. And at $15 an hour, it's $600 a week. So it's $7,000. So they're spending $7,000 on the internship and you're charging them $100. It's probably too little. So I would triple your price. $300, $400, maybe even $500 an intern to manage it. Because remember, they're spending $7,000 plus their time. And you might lose 2 customers out of the 6 if you 5x the pricing. But if the simple math is, if you 5x the pricing and you keep half the customers, well, that's better for you and the margin's better, right? And then you can put more focus on, let's say, of the 6, you only keep 3. And if you had 100, you would have kept the other 3. Well, those other 3 are going to be pain in the ass clients because they care about $100 versus $500. No real company cares about $100 versus $500 because the person who has to run the internship program is probably getting paid $80,000 or $90,000 a year. Their time is worth much more.
Yes.
So I think you're grossly undervaluing the product. You want to charge more. You want to shake loose the bottom half of customers. This way, when you go meet with investors, they don't go, oh, this founder's got potential, but she's not cutthroat enough and she's underpricing her product. She doesn't actually know what this product's worth. You want to come in and have them go, whoa, they're paying you $20,000 a year?
Wonderful.
So much better. Better to have 2 clients paying 20 than 8, you said 4, than 10 paying 4. Walker Corporate Law is a boutique law firm that specializes in representing entrepreneurs and their startups, and they charge a fixed fee. So whatever you want to get done, you're not going to have that terrorizing PDF coming from your law firm, and you open it up and you wonder, is this the month that I get a huge legal bill? Nope. Scott Walker is going to tell you what you're going to pay, and he's got attorneys working with him in his partnership who have decades of experience. This is a boutique firm, and they specialize. What that means is flat rate pricing, no getchas, gotchas, no surprises, and world-class, multi-decade attorneys who've done this and who are choosing to do it. And you can reach Scott Walker directly, the founder, just like me. You can reach him directly, 415-979-9998, 415-979-9998. Scott at walkercorporatelaw.com. Put Jason sent me in the subject line. Scott at Walker Corporate Law. Say Uncle Jason sent me. He knows who Uncle Jason is. And you can visit walkercorporatelaw.com. But go ahead, email Scott. He's a mensch. He takes care of the people I send to him. He is a great attorney, and he does a great job for founders. He's chosen the path of supporting early-stage founders. And just like me, he operates right in that early stage, the first couple of years of a startup, to set them up for success. And he's great at what he does. Mergers and acquisitions, licensing arrangements, terms of service, privacy policies, all that stuff he can do for you. And he can do it at a great price with fixed fees. No surprises. So go ahead, 415-979-9998 or scott@walkercorporatelaw.com. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode.
My only question would be, how do you ask for funding from companies that don't normally allocate this type of software to interns?
Yeah. So that's where you find out what the value of your product is.
Mm-hmm.
So far in this conversation, we don't have forever to talk about the value. What is the number one value of the software? Is it recruiting an intern? Is it managing the intern? What is the number one value of the software? Is it for the applicant tracking? What is it?
It's actually fascinating that it's branding.
Ah.
Because these interns are campus ambassadors for these companies.
Perfect.
So this guarantees visibility into the program and ensures that the interns are having a meaningful experience. And that's what they're dying to know about.
Perfect. So I would study the data, study what they're using it for, charge more. And then when you come into VCs, you don't want to signal that this is a low margin business that people aren't willing to pay a lot of money for. And you want to challenge your team on the product side to provide enough value that, $500 doesn't seem like much per engagement. They're probably spending much more. So that's a really understanding what they spend on this and what the savings will be. Mm-hmm. So an example of this might be, we have a company in our accelerator that provides content through a marketplace for companies that just haven't updated their blog in a while. So they charge, let's say, $3,000 a month. $36,000 a year, and that gets you a blog post a week, $750 a blog. The other choice is for them to go hire a blogger for $50 or $60K, take 3 months to find them, have to manage them, have to have a head count, have to pay their health insurance, have to give them a desk, have to have somebody manage them, and that takes 20% of the time. Then they leave because they got good. Then they ask for a raise. You get the idea.
Of course.
And so you have to understand, if they were doing it themselves, what would it have cost them, and be able to explain that to them. So if we were to have an accountant here at launch, it would cost us, for an accountant in San Francisco, let's call it $75,000 a year for somebody with a couple of bookkeeper type person. But we have a bookkeeping service called Zendu that I use in Florida that charges us, I think, $1,500 a month. There's no way that we could ever do what they do. And we don't have to have the headcount, we outsource it. So we're looking at that going, 18,000 versus 80. So obvious. Do you understand what their costs are yet?
We're still figuring that out because every single company does their internship program different.
Right.
So get it's a challenge.
You got to get that number, explain it to them, walk them through it. And then you just say to them, hey, we're building this software and we're in year one. Would really help me to understand how many hours it takes you to find an intern, how many hours it takes to, what is your manual process? Because we want to build the features and we're trying to prioritize the features. Then when they tell you, just constantly ask them to give you an hour associated with each task. And they're like, a couple days. And you're like, so would that be 10 hours or 20?
Okay.
And they say, yeah, something like that. And you say, so maybe 15 hours, 2 full days to find an intern and train them. Is that right? Great. Okay, the training part, is that 2 hours or 10? It's more like 10. Okay, 10 hours to train and 10 hours to find them. And you just keep working that. And then you just guess their salary, times it by 1.2, divide it by 2,000, and you got the cost, right? Because people work 2,000 hours a year, but they have 20% additional cost because, or maybe even 30% for their desk and their computer and their benefits and their 401k. So you can really start to figure out the hourly salary of somebody. It's probably $30 an hour, $40 an hour. If they're spending 200 hours managing the process that your software does at $40 an hour, it's $8,000. And you're charging $100. You got to come somewhere in between. And then you got to be able to verbalize that back to them. And then you have to make the sales team be able to verbalize it back to them. So you have a processes for them when the salesperson on the table say, we know it takes about, $8,000 for you to manage an intern. We can get that down to just $700. We can save you 91%. Might that interest you? And then that's where it's all going to start going your way. Number one thing we find in our accelerator is that the founders are charging way too little. Way too little. And remember, nobody can stop you. Being a minority, being a woman, none of that's going to stop you. You're going to stop yourself in all likelihood. That's what most founders, that's the wall they run into because they run out of energy or they're not charging enough or they're undervaluing themselves. I see that much more often. Literally, a 400-pound, 78-year-old person could waddle into an office, no offense to 78-year-old, 400-pound people, to an office with a venture capitalist and have a chart where the revenue is tripling every 3 months and get funded. Nobody cares about who you are in this town or where you come from if you have the chart. Now, if you don't have the chart, yeah, there could be bias. But let me tell you something. These greedy venture capitalists, all they care about is returning that fund. Because if they can return that $300 million fund, then they get the next fund. So if they look at you and they look at that chart and they see money and that they're going to return the fund and that they're going to get that second house in, Lake Tahoe, or the third house in Aspen, or they're going to get another NetJets card and they get to get the next fund, they're going to fund you. That's what it's about. That's what it's about here. Okay, great job. Keep working on it. And you should come audit the accelerator. Come by one Thursday and see the companies that are just ahead of you and watch them pitch. And it's usually right now, I'd say we average, out of the 7 companies right now, it's probably 2 or 3 are female founders. So it is the year of the female founder, I believe. More women are starting companies. And in my experience, this is going to sound like a lot of gender bias right now, women take the job more seriously. Sorry, guys. Women take the job more seriously.
Yes. Actually, out of the
Fortune
Fortune 1000 companies, women lead the way.
Yeah.
As far as like 3-time return on female CEOs.
As one female founder who I got close to, after funding her, and I just said, wow, you're so hardworking. It's incredible. And she said, well, I have to be. And I said, why? She said, well, I'm not going to get a second chance like these other bros in Silicon Valley. Like, they're going to just get second and third chances. If I fail, I'm not going to get a second chance. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but in her mind, she had to perform at a higher level. And you clearly are performing at a high level. So I encourage you to keep working on it. Ahva.
Yes, thank you so much, Jason.
Music of Nature, and the company is Symba.io, Symba.io. So if you have an internship program and you want to make it less arduous, I want you right now to go to Symba.io. See, when you raise $10 million and you're making $100 million a year, you can buy ads on my podcast, and I'll read this for you. Use the code TWIST to get a free month of Symba. All right. We'll be right back with more Office Hours. Have you tried to hire somebody lately? It is bonkers out there. It is so hard to find somebody because unemployment is so low and the top people have so many options, let alone the fact that a lot of people want to work part-time or 4 days a week or from home. But there's all these great candidates out there who are passive job searchers. What do I mean by passive job searchers? Well, these are people who are hanging out on LinkedIn and they're, maybe talking to friends or doing in-mail, updating their feed, reading news, all on LinkedIn, which is one of the world's largest social networks, as you know, and the largest one for business, clearly. Well, what if those people who are not looking, the passive job searchers, saw your opportunity? Well, they might say, I like my job, but I think I'll love that job working for JCal at launch. That's exactly what happened. That's how we got Sir Charles, our new director, for our studio position here. We received 68 candidates in only 2 weeks by posting to LinkedIn Jobs. And I'm going to give you $50 right now. I'm going to give you a 50 just by going to linkedin.com/twist. LinkedIn.com, you know that. It's already in your URL. It's in your bookmarks because you're on LinkedIn multiple times a week, maybe a day like me. And if you go to linkedin.com and just put /TWIST, you get $50 right now, 50 beans. Go grab it, and you will find extremely high qualified candidates. We spent, listen to this punchline, $140 to find Charles. If we had hired a headhunter or we were posting on other websites, it would have been so arduous. Instead, it was easy. And the same thing, we have an office now in Toronto. We were looking for people up there. We found this amazing candidate, Maureen, who's been doing an incredible job for us. And when we posted, LinkedIn auto-populated our posting with some candidates. We started reaching out to them and we're like, who is this superstar? Boom, got him on the team. So once again, LinkedIn saved the day for me, JCal. It's just brilliant. LinkedIn has been building and building for over a decade, and now the benefit is here. The benefit is you can find the best people, especially if you're a great company and you take the time to write a good ad and put it on LinkedIn Jobs. Again, $50, linkedin.com/twist. LinkedIn.com/twist. I use it. I love it. I love reading the ad for them because I get excited about finding talented people to work on our team. Okay, speaking of talented people, let's get back to this episode. Welcome back to Office Hours. I'm Jason Calacanis, and this is This Week in Startups. If you would like to help the show, You can write a review on iTunes and give us 5 stars. You can go buy my book, Angel the Book, and write an amazing review on Goodreads, Audible, or Amazon, or Barnes & Noble, or wherever you buy fine books. Founder University, 7 times a year. Go to founder.university and apply. We only accept 1 out of 7 people. It's pretty competitive these days, but it's worth coming to. And then angel.university is going on the road. We're going to do about 6 cities in 2019. So go to angel.university or founder.university to, if you like this program and you like learning and getting better at your trade, whether it's investing or starting companies, we have those 2 opportunities for you. Founder University is free. Angel.university is cheap, $500. My next guest is Minda, and she's with a company called Vytality.
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 That's right.
If you're at home and you're wondering, Jason, why do they spell these names wrong? They're faking it till they make it. They can't get the .com. It's locked up by some domain broker. And so there is a time-honored tradition of misspelling or creatively spelling your domain name, and yours happens to be a .co company. Vytality. Vytality.co. And it's a social app for caring. Period.
That's right.
Okay. What exactly does that mean? Is it a gratitude journal? Is it for caring? Like I go care for my elderly grandmother?
Now you're approaching it.
Okay.
So Vytality Health is a social support network for anyone with health or caring goals, especially caregivers, elders, and patients.
Got it.
Yeah.
So there was a company, Home Hero, I was an investor in, and they would manage, and there was another one, I forgot the name of it. We had Seth on the program. I forgot the name of his company. We'll look it up in his honor. And they actually hire the healthcare providers and send them to the house to take care of people. What do you do exactly?
So we're a different approach.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Think of it like a social media play. But instead of hearing all about those political memes and people, bragging about their travels, people are sharing their health and caring goals.
Got it.
Yeah.
This seems very world positive. So instead of going on Instagram and having FOMA or trying to incite FOMA in other people, or instead of going on Twitter and arguing about which terrorists are worse or which hysterical, crazy political party is worse, you go on Vytality and you say, hey, I want to be less depressed, less fat, run a faster mile, and then you support each other?
Basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So we found that when people share their health goals, their caring goals, or anything that really matters to them, you're more than twice as likely to actually achieve the future you're creating.
So, and I agree. Right now, I'm in a weight bet with 2 of my friends. We're all fat. We want to be less fat. And we talk about our fasting, and we use Kevin Rose's Zero app. I introduced them to it. We take screenshots of it. We put it into our iMessage group, and we talk about losing weight.
Yep.
And it is magical because I don't want to disappoint my 2 friends. So yeah, there is something to being in a Fitbit steps competition or sharing your weight. How do you make money?
Well, we're structuring it like an AARP-like membership platform.
Got it. So you're going to charge a subscription.
That's right. We'll have that. And we're going to charge for transaction fees for connecting you with really great organizations and vendors who can really serve whatever your specific needs are.
Okay. That probably won't work, but the subscription will, is my prediction.
Okay.
It's a little complicated to try to cut all those deals and try to get a little bit of a percentage from those companies. And it's very hard for a company to have multiple revenue streams. If I had to pick one, you were my sister and we're having like a heart-to-heart talk, taking my investment hat off, I'd say pick one that you think you're capable of executing on and that will be the clearest path to victory. And the other challenge I have with your business is it for weight loss? Is it for mental health? Which thing? Because sometimes when you try to do all things, you wind up doing nothing.
Right.
So I almost feel like Vytality, if it was, just 3 things to start. Your blood pressure, your diabetes, your weight, your sleep. I don't know what the common conditions are that you could really steps. I don't know. But you'll figure that out. What's your biggest challenge right now?
Well, our biggest challenge is building our community at the same time that we're building the tech to support it.
Mm-hmm.
We're still pre-launch, unlike the other folks.
Sure. So what you told me was a grand vision. What I think is a better approach is to pick one piece of the grand vision, the first step on the journey, and make sure you nail that first step. Because right now, there are specialists in each and every vertical. So on my phone, I have All Trails, which I pay for, which are the trails.
Yep.
I have Zero, which is a fasting app. I have Fitbit. I have the Apple Watch. And I have a Weaving scale. So I have like 5 different things I've paid for, subscriptions I pay for. Or I have Calm. And I have Fitbod.
Wow.
So I've got like 7 of these, and I think I pay for 4 of them or so, right? And you, by trying to do all of those things, will not be able to, with the screen real estate, do a better job than Kevin Rose is doing with Zero or Calm is doing with meditation. The world wants focus. Mm-hmm. So I think you might want to slow down and think about taking out 90% of the features and keep it to 1. Yep. So if you feel that you have the most insight into anxiety, and this is a very acute problem, or gratitude, or feelings of despair, or weight.
How about just leaving the hospital and just being newly discharged and not being clear about what services are available to you?
Okay, that still feels broad.
Okay.
So I would even narrow it down. What is the number one condition people leaving from the hospital need help with? Because you're talking about compliance and drugs and all that. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a whole cohort of startups that do just that. I have been pitched on, here is a pill box that opens and closes, and it's a smart pill box, and it tells the doctor if you open it and close it, and that makes the medicine. So there's like somebody working on that. Right. Then there was that company that made that I think Amazon bought, which made the pills in a packet. So you only open that one pill packet every day. They were launched at our event. I didn't invest like an idiot. They got bought for $1 billion. I was like, so let me understand your business. You put my daily pills in one packet as opposed to me taking the 6 pills and putting them in my mouth. Like, that's dumb. And it turns out I'm the idiot, because I didn't believe it. So I think, what do you mean by discharge compliance?
Well, I'm not talking about the hospital side, but I was a traumatic brain injury patient with a great job, great insurances. I actually had 3 insurances because I was in a cycling accident. I flew over the handlebars of my bike.
Oh, my God.
And despite all that support, there was an entire cycling team with me, and someone saved my life in the team.
Wow.
Revived me. And it was a really serious accident. I had left parietal lobe hemorrhage.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And even with my wonderful family and friends, I was still not clear on what was available to me. And I had to schedule 8 different doctor's appointments. I had to find out which doctors were the right ones to go to. I was bedridden, and my brain was damaged. So it was hard for me to coordinate all these things.
Okay. So now I'm starting to get a better idea, because this is when you explain your idea and you give an example. We always train people in our accelerator that examples matter, and the more illustrative the example, the better. And you just gave the ultimate illustrative one because it's personal. And now we're like, oh, you flew off the handles. You were with your cycling team. You had a hemorrhage. You were passed out and they had to revive you. So this was life or death. And so now we really understand, okay, now, and you also presented a specific problem. I didn't know what was available. So this gets more interesting. What should I do after a specific type of injury, and what's available? Well, that's a different thing, and that could be more interesting. So,
I mean, often people have to have 20 different conversations to even answer one of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, and there are a number of different approaches and formats to solving problems like this. One of them that's gotten very popular is telemedicine. There's a number of companies that will allow you to get prescriptions for things that are embarrassing, maybe, to go to the doctor, and they'll do it virtually. And whether it's erectile dysfunction or hair or UTI, whatever. There's a bunch of these companies. And what they've learned is answering the questions, 20 questions, having the doctor then give you your Viagra or, UTI medicine, antibiotics is just more fluid and more people will actually get help than going to the doctor and sitting there waiting. So I wonder, that's one modality. That's one technique for handling that. Another is community. People pay for community. Mm-hmm. And so a community of people who have had brain trauma and a community of people who are suffering through one of the hepatitis, one of the, cystic fibrosis. I have a family member who's has that. And these are very specific things where the medicine moves very quickly and slowly, but there's a lot going on, let's say.
Right. And there's often patient organizations that are dedicated to this work and understand those deeper needs. Finney Friend Foundation and Parkinson's is a really great example of organizations like that who help folks like this. And so we have a whole ton of these different kinds of patients with specific needs. What if you could bring them all online?
So you've got something. Now you have to productize it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you sort of brought up as your problem is like, how do I productize? I want you to look into the new trend. It's called a no-code startup. No-code startup. We've seen a half dozen of them apply to the accelerator. What it is business people, designers, idea people are able to hack together something using existing tools without ever writing a line of code. So, as an example, you could make a Patreon today using the Patreon platform. That's $10 a month. And you could interview people with 2 microphones like we're doing right now and interview a doctor every week and ask them questions, or just a guest who's suffering from, let's just take brain trauma as your one, or cystic fibrosis. And you could see if you can get 100 people to pay $10 a month. That's $1,000 a month. That pays for all the production. And you say, okay, does this need to be in an app? And if so, what would that look like, right? And some people are doing this with Facebook groups. They'll test a Facebook group, see if they can get to critical mass there. See if they can get to critical mass on a Patreon. See if they can get to critical mass on a Kickstarter. You get the idea. Mm-hmm. And then they can start building glue between these things. So there's a company called Mighty Networks, Mighty Bell. I don't know what they call themselves today, but we tested that. It's very cool software. And you don't need to write the software. So you might spend all this time and expense writing the software and hire 3 developers and spend $500,000. You may have done that already.
Well, I have something to share with you.
Okay, go ahead.
I actually have a staff of 30.
Okay,
and we're entirely bootstrapped group of employees and apprentices who really care about this problem.
Okay.
And they care about health, and they're all coming from people who had cataract surgery, people with
Okay, so you have volunteers who are doing this on the weekends and nights.
That's right. And we have a front app and a back end. And they've done an amazing job.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. That's one of the nice things that comes with picking a vertical where there's a lot at stake, is that the enthusiasm and the kindness, the empathy, the caring that humans can show for each other in the moment of need.
Absolutely.
You don't need to do marketing. The fact that you're listening to people and helping them is the marketing. It's going to spread virally. So I would think about the subscription business. And if you've got cystic fibrosis or whatever it happens to be, spending $100 a year to be part of a community and knowing that pays for what we used to call in the community days the list mom, which is a non-gender specific term. Hashtag trigger warning, gender wars. List mom could be a guy or a they or non-binary, just a term that was used in the early days of the internet. What a list mom used to do is manage a listserv. I don't know if you remember these days. But
I totally remember those days.
You remember, yeah. And the list mom would just make sure nobody was being a jerk on the... It's kind of inaccurate because moms are supposed to make sure you're not acting like a jerk. So it's kind of accurate. At least that was my mom's role in Brooklyn. And they would just, if somebody was acting like a jerk on a mailing list, which would ruin the experience for everybody, this is before they had the term trolling, they would just put that person, the list mom would put them on moderated, which meant when they emailed the list, their email went into a queue. The mom looked at it and said, you know what? That was a little bit hostile. You want to take a second shot at it? I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. If it's really important to you, go ahead and rewrite it, and I'll give you a couple tips, but you probably don't want to call that person a socialist asshole in the first sentence. So
list bomb.
Or a capitalist mother effer, like go ahead and like this is what list moms used to do. And it's why the internet was so delightful. And we all had such an amazing expectation of the internet because we had mods.
I should out myself as a former list mom.
You were? I was a list mom too. All right. Listen, I'm fascinated by you, Minda. I'm glad you're alive and you survived this craziness. My God,
Thank you. Me too.
the world is so fragile. Like we're so fragile. And you
Yeah.
made it out.
But I think people really connect and feel that fragility. We're sparking a community of helpers who really want to help others.
Yeah, it's like just deep, good work.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you know about life post flying over the handlebars that I don't? Share it with the audience. If you had to think about like what changed and how you look at life, the one thing, what is it that you now know?
Well, I think that is, people are often faced with creating something from nothing. When you have faced death, I remember looking at literally my life falling to pieces when I saw death. It was pretty wild. And how do you rebuild from that point when you think you're going to be disabled for the rest of your life? And I really thought that my life was over. But what I found is that as long as you can communicate in any way, any kind of communication, if you can dialogue, you have everything you need.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're gonna take a moment and we're gonna be right back on This Week in Startups. It's time for you to turn your great idea, perhaps even your startup idea, into a website. What are you gonna do? You're going to use Squarespace because you need a beautiful website with incredible functionality from blogging to e-commerce, and you want everybody on the team to be able to quickly edit and update the website, and you want to get a great price. Whether you're trying to sell products or services or promote an online business or maybe a physical real-world business, maybe you're doing an event, and we do a lot of events, or a special project, bing, bang, boom. You can get your Squarespace website up and running immediately with their beautiful templates that are customizable, powerful e-commerce functionality, and it's all optimized for mobile, tablet. You make it, it looks beautiful in all different screen sizes. And you get analytics, plus you can buy domains and choose from over 200 extensions. You may have seen I did Angel.University and Founder.University using Squarespace. It's free, it's secure, and 24/7 award-winning customer support. So here is your call to action. I want you to visit squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, just use that offer code TWIST, TWIST, and you'll save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I love Squarespace. They've been an incredible supporter of this podcast. And every month, every quarter, week in, week out, they're delivering new features. This is one of the great things about cloud software and the movement. Squarespace just keeps listening to those customers and adding new features, and then you can just see it in the product and the functionality. And the price stays the same, and the value goes up. That's efficiency. That's what entrepreneurship is about, building a better mousetrap, and that better mousetrap is Squarespace. So go ahead and visit squarespace.com. Use the promo code TWIST to save 10% off your first purchase. Okay, let's get back to this amazing website. Amazing podcast. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. It's our office hours edition. Sometimes we do Ask Jason. Sometimes we do office hours. Sometimes a news roundtable. We like to mix it up. People are really responding to office hours because we go deep and it gets heavy and it gets real. We like to keep it 100, as the kids are saying these days. Speaking of kids, Jeff, how are you doing? You look like you're about 12 years old. How old are you?
I'm 24.
24.
So
Look at you.
that.
You're a little baby.
Oh, okay.
You know what I am? I'm 48.
Oh,
What's
whoa.
24 times 2?
48.
Correct. Jeff, you're the founder of TownSquare.news. So I'm guessing you have made the horrific decision to be in journalism in the news business like me.
Not exactly. no.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the business? I'm joshing you right now.
Yeah. So we're building an online community that has productive disagreements on divisive issues. And so we've basically built a news feed that whenever you build a profile, it personalizes to you.
Okay.
And it shows you articles that match your perspective,
Got
but
it.
articles that challenge your perspective.
So you're saying I can go on your site and I can go argue with gun nuts.
No, because we don't have a discussion element in the site itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I own a gun, but
Oh, okay. Oh, well. Okay.
I'm I'm kind of in the middle of that one. But okay, so how does this work? How do I, you're saying I see the other side's opinion?
Yeah, so you build a profile with
Okay.
roughly 7 questions, so it takes about 20 seconds. And then from the profile, it teaches our models kind of what we call your values. And so
Mhm.
when a news story breaks, we give you an article that matches your views, a neutral article that kind of states the overall, here's what's happening, and then a challenge article, an article that disagrees with you.
Oh, I see.
There's an example of
So
this.
you want to break the echo chamber.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I believe it's my right as an American to own a gun, which is what I believe,
Yes.
but I don't believe you should own an automatic rifle or one with more than, say, 6 or 12 rounds or something
Yes.
reasonable. And maybe you shouldn't own more than 1 or 2, and maybe they should be insured. You might show me something that challenges my thinking.
Yes. Yeah. And that it would
Oh.
actually challenge it, right? There's enough like kind of superficial stuff out there of like,
Link
oh,
bait?
okay, yeah, like we'll show you a CNN article or something like that and kind of try to stereotype you into position versus steel manning the actual positions. So
Got it.
that was probably the big technological hurdle we had to kind of figure out and do.
How do you do that?
So it's a combination
I mean,
of,
we all know CNN is fake news.
yeah.
But aside from fake news,
I feel like we shouldn't say the T word here, but yeah. Well, it's so the process of how we do that is we kind of rope together a bunch of existing artificial intelligence techniques. So
got it.
it's
Machine
sort of
learning.
it's this Frankenstein process of
Okay.
kind of on the bottom up side, we have a deep learning model of these 7 questions basically give us training data. And then we can kind of learn through, okay, if you've read something or if you've scrolled through something, then yeah, this is probably something that we matched correctly. And then from the top down side, we use sentiment analysis per article to be able to say, here's a subject line. How many ad hominems did it use? Like, does the argument depend on calling Jason a dummy for wanting to keep a gun?
Sure.
Or does it actually make a reasoned argument and approach?
So what happens when you put Mother Jones and Breitbart through this system?
Yeah, so we actually did hook up pretty much everything to see, and then we put in the Thomson Reuters journalism scale to see how accurately it would depict it. None of the articles ever got through. So I have
From
nothing.
either of those 2 places?
There are 2 Mother Jones articles that went through, I think, like twice, but then we had a human correct
it. feels like those 2 platforms are, what do they call it? Not opinion-based, but platform-based?
It's hard. Like, I think they tap into an emotion that's real for their readers.
Sure,
but
they do.
They don't tap into it from a perspective that might be helpful.
Got it.
And so our goal isn't to be dismissive on any side. Our goal is to, again, steel man each position.
What does it mean, steel man, in this?
So straw man, we usually take it as like, oh, Jason wants to own a gun, therefore he doesn't care about children dying in schools. You know, that's kind of how the discourse has become.
Right.
Steel manning is you take the position of, well, actually, he has a nuanced approach to this, and it's worth approaching that nuanced approach.
Got it.
Yep. So
in this case, I do. Are you anti-gun?
No, well, actually, I do think that debate is pretty severely complicated. I think automatic rifles don't have a place in the country for right now, but the debates around the Constitution, I think, should be treated more seriously.
Got it. Me too. Yeah. What's your biggest challenge with this very ambitious company?
Yeah, so it's good that I went last because I got to. Well, basically, a ton of my questions were already answered.
Okay,
so
that's the point of office hours and why we let people sit in.
Yeah,
because there are some common themes here.
It was great. So basically, with venture capital, obviously having the goal of having massive growth. So we launched publicly by accident about 2 months ago, and we have. It's a long story. And then we have like 400 committed members.
Got it.
I don't like the word users, but 400 committed members. They're sharing themselves. It's organic. We've been trying the 7% a day method by Y Combinator. So that's been working pretty well.
What is that method? I never heard of that. Grow 7% a day?
Yeah. And so, that might be my adjustment of some of Michael Seibel's teachings, but I digress at this point. And so we've been doing that. It's been steady. It's been mainly families being reconciled to each other during this crazy age and dilemma, and college students being able to say to each other, okay, we're not going to disagree on anything until we actually read both sides of this argument. We're raising our first pre-seed round right now. We're debating whether we focus on features that are more helpful to our members right now, which is if we build out a discussion platform. We think we have a new way to do that than how the current social platforms do it. But that'll take developer money, that'll take time and energy. Or do we focus on bringing on someone for growth? Someone who is a much better salesman or a much better person who can facilitate these conversations, et cetera.
Got it. So you're debating going on the feature death march or going down the sales and growth path.
Yes.
Great. Because you're resource constrained.
Yes.
This is a classic question, dichotomy. What is the business model of this business? Is it advertising, get big and have advertising, or do you think you'll be able to charge people to be members of this?
I think subscription would be the key here.
That's perfect. So it's good that you know, because trying to run both of those at the same time can normally result in chaos and cognitive dissonance. Because the sales team says, I want more impressions to sell Mercedes and Volvo.
Yeah.
And then the subscription team says, put that behind the paywall.
Yeah.
And don't give it away for free. We're giving away the milk. And why would they buy the cow?
Yeah.
So, and you're in the news business, which means VCs are going to hate you.
Yeah.
They hate this business. You have to prove it to them. So you picked the worst category to go into venture capital with, which means you know that.
Yeah.
You will see from time to time BuzzFeed or Gimlet Media or Vox. Sometimes these companies will raise a little bit of money. Sometimes it's private equity money. Sometimes it's later stage money, like Vice and Vox, I think, was largely private equity money.
Yeah.
And they went up and bought a bunch of things. So you kind of can't count them as venture capital.
Yeah.
But BuzzFeed was specifically venture.
Big, yeah.
And you can study Lear Hippo, the venture firm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, they kind of have some concepts around here. They did Huffington Post, or you can look at something like Business Insider and Henry Blodgett. But you picked a tough time.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you can figure out how to make subscriptions work.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're halfway to making subscriptions work, 10% of the way, 100%? Have you tried?
I would say we're 10%.
Okay.
But the reason I would say 10% is, so out of everyone we've gotten that has come on board, I've tried to speak with directly and ask questions on like, what would be a product that would be worth paying for? The overall realization is it cannot be just a like adless news platform.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have responsive features, which luckily deep learning enables. So most people actually, especially people my age, don't actually know where they stand on political positions. And they said, well, if we read an article and you could click, I agreed with this, I disagreed with this, we could actually help build your profile. So we can say, you lean this way.
So what you're really selling, from what I gather, I haven't played with the product, Jeff, is making me more informed, making me smarter, making me have a better holistic opinion, make me the smartest person at the dinner party or the most informed. Is that right?
I think that's definitely that's what I thought we were building initially, but the way it's been used is a bit different.
Okay, explain.
The way it's been used is probably two major categories. The first one is one customer who said to me, well, he's just a member, and he said to me, hey, we had our first Thanksgiving as a family in 2 years.
Yeah.
We were able to focus on each story that we disagreed upon. And I don't agree at all with my liberal leaning son, but at the very least, I can understand why he would think these things. And so we were able to talk about other things versus, yell at each other for politics or for the economy.
So you're selling domestic tranquility in that one, for that person.
Yeah.
But you're also making them more informed to have the outcome of a better conversation. So in a way, you're training people how to be better at debating important issues.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I put you into an educational rubric in my mind immediately.
Definitely, yeah.
And so I think studying Brilliant.org, which we're members of, or maybe Musician, which teaches people how to play songs, or Khan Academy, Treehouse, Linda, Masterclass. I think maybe Masterclass could be a really interesting place for you to sort of start your journey. And think about if you could have people master their understanding of gun control, mastering their understanding of tax and what taxes work, mastering the healthcare debate, and then taking people through a course or a leveling up system where you say, this person understands universal basic income at an 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level. And you give them levels 1 and 2 for free, but 3, 4, and 5 is paid. So you can get yourself up to a masterful level of UBI.
Yeah.
Let's call it level 2 thinking.
Yeah.
But then to go to level 3 in the course and get certified in that and answer the questions and watch the videos and really have somebody write up, and present you with information, which is different than doing the, automated AI one.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about the outcome that your early users want.
Yeah.
The news aggregation business in the United States is a flop.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked. There are companies in China and Japan.
Toutao, yeah.
Yep. And Japan too, that Smarter News and a lot of things that have done really well.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked here because the social networks here are so prevalent that that's where the news travels. So you might want to try a different thing.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to try the product. I'm going to. Everybody should take
Yeah.
a look at townsquare.news. I'm sorry that you picked the hardest category to go after, but if you're passionate about it.
For what it's worth, you kind of played a hand into us
I did.
jumping into this.
I'm sorry.
No, we're fans of
Okay.
this podcast, and I think like about a year ago you were on this site, and I can't remember who you were interviewing, but you had said, well, you can go work for a company that is going to make you a mindless factotum, I think was the phrase you said. And we were thinking about working on this company, but then at university, our professors were like, well, actually the discourse is getting worse and worse in the Western democracies. No one's kind of stepping up to the plate. And then the next podcast you had said, will someone finally step up to the plate? And then my co-founder and I were like, well, we might as well. Yeah.
Give it a shot. I mean, listen, the bigger the problem and the more intractable it seems, the bigger the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes human beings listen to the echo chambers on social media and actually think a problem's intractable, like homelessness. And they think this is like some intractable problem when in fact, homelessness by definition is a person without a home.
Yeah.
If you gave them a home, they would no longer be technically homeless. Now, they might still have addiction issues or mental health issues or poverty-related issues or job-related issues. It could be all kinds of other issues. But the issue of being homeless is actually quite solvable.
Yeah.
It's called housing first, and a couple of countries have made it work pretty easily.
Yeah, there was a theme, I think, earlier with your capitalism v. socialism debate. And I think you had tweeted at it, and then I tweeted a story where we did capitalism versus socialism on our page. And it was interesting because I think like you can approach it very logically, which I think is fair to do. But I think one of the strongest forms of argumentation is when you see the experiences people are going through. And there's some people who have just been, struggling, but they've been hustling, and they feel like the system is just rigged against them. Yeah. And, I think that's the most compelling argument for socialism. Like, I'm personally not for socialism, but I think like approaching the argument that way just makes it a better argumentation versus calling it fake news or something like that.
Well, I'm going to get on townsquare.news right after this, and I'm going to debate some socialists.
Oh, nice.
Some socialists and explain to them how incredibly wrong they are and that socialism is a road to communism and nowhere.
Okay. Well.
No offense to the people from Denmark in the room. Yeah. When you want to have socialism in a 5 million homogenous country, it was kind of a different thing than 350 million Americans who are at each other's throat.
Definitely, yeah. I think like the core premise of kind of what we're doing in a lot of ways is the internet has sort of become this place where you inherently go for conflict. Yeah. And the conflict itself might not be that productive. No. And so the world does not need another news aggregator that shows you a pro-con view. No. I think. But what deep learning can do is it can provide a personalized approach to showing you something that, one, helps you clarify your thoughts on something, but two, also actually challenge them. So I
love it.